page 140. On the whole, the human being simply allows himself or herself to drift like a cork in the wavy water. Sometimes up and sometimes down, he or she simply lets themselves be pulled along without defending themselves against the ups and downs, and without the willingness to determine their own way. To the highest degree, he or she is the plaything of their own moods and dispositions, as well as all outer influences. In one instant, joyous and cheerful, and in the next moment, he or she is already ill-humored and unhappy. One moment his or her life lights up with sunshine and roses, then it is once more gloomy and hopeless. These negative moods also paralyze his or her initiative and take the last vestige of the possibly still remaining courage from him or her. Failures come to light and undermine and destroy the self-confidence. Such a human being is ill-humored, depressed, loses friendships, prosperity, and success. It follows that everyone goes out of their way in order not to fall into a consciousness-based deplorable state themselves through their destructive behavior and through their ill temper. Such a human being can do and not do what he or she wants. A foul mode of thinking will always press them into the deepest dirt. It does not matter what he or she also invariably undertakes, because everything will fail. Naturally thereby, his or her couragelessness sinks ever deeper, and new terrible things draw near. These also are again falsely met, consequently, step by step. The whole psyche falls into confusion. Finally, the body is affected and strikes him or her with illness. Thus endless ups and downs follow without ever achieving a success. If one difficulty is overcome with effort and hardship, another one appears, and indeed, until the life is brought to termination with Gewaltsamkeit, or until the kind of thinking is changed and remodulated into a healthy, might-oriented thinking. The remedy is simple, and always at hand, and complete help is always and in every case possible. Every normal human being, capable of thinking, can learn to command their own mood, to equalize themselves, and to always be in good humor, joyful and satisfied. Every normal human being capable of thinking can learn to avoid the often very tragic consequences of foul dispositions and moods, and to attract happiness and success. And whoever is capable of mastering their dispositions and moods also masters their happiness, their success, joys, health, and radiance, friendships, and everything else good. But here now the question arises as to how to attain and to achieve a positive thinking. Thus, how does one think positively? However, before this question can now be answered and the right way pointed out, some things must still first be explained. Things that are of great significance, things that actually, according to old tradition, must not be told, since they partially belong to the strict secret sciences to which the so-called normal human being has no access. Earlier, so-called normal human beings were tortured to death in the most gruesome manner if they only caught sight of a book of the secret sciences. However, these regulations have in part somewhat eased over the bygone centuries. The reason for this is because one had reached the view that various things of the secret sciences could only be of help to the normal human being if they were made accessible to him or her. Therefore, it was still so up to a few centuries ago that only a few initiated ones and bigwigs of the secret sciences were allowed to engage in the mysteries of the secret sciences. Thus today, those who are interested are able to obtain partial excerpts from these sciences. But even here, caution is still always recommended, because there are still various secret organizations which safeguard very big secrets of the secret sciences, or quite simply erroneously believe that their knowledge is still as secret as it was thousands of years ago. And on the other hand, the members of these secret organizations live in the erroneous belief that their secrets would include deep knowledge and might, although they are, on many occasions, built only on irrational teachings, just as the teachings of the religions. The true knowledge, that is deep-reaching and very mighty, however, is totally foreign to the most secret organizations, through which they only indulge in absolute nonsense and the irrational teaching. The real secrets of the secret sciences are, in effect, only accessible with very great difficulty, and known in only a few initiated circles. And these secrets are so deep-reaching in knowledge that they are truly enormous. Consequently, they are therefore kept secret, through which uncountable irrational teachings of the various sciences can be perpetuated. Thus also the irrational teachings of the psychiatry, the religions, and the border and spiritual sciences, etc. Resulting from that, very many facts become twisted and misunderstood, although, through a right and healthy thinking process, they actually would bring the right and natural, logical solution. However, an irrational teaching, once established, becomes steadfastly defended and justified, through which the effective truth suffers and is suppressed. Through the building up of an irrational teaching, and with it the suppression of the truth, a tremendous might arises based on finances, however, also in regards to the control of the human beings. A science built up upon an irrational teaching is able to beat undreamt of masses of entire peoples into their servitude. Likewise, sciences of spiritual healing are also able to degenerate absolutely healthy human beings into complete idiots. The same science which labels psychically severely stricken human beings as maligners, when they are already so far gone that they see suicide as the only solution. A spiritual science that is built upon an unexcusable irrational teaching, and that lacks a normal, natural logic. A spiritual science that should be built upon supposed secret knowledge, and the reference to spirit and soul research. Supposed secret knowledge which does not have the least to do with the real secret knowledge, because the supposed secret knowledge represents only a very easy to see through irrational teaching. An irrational teaching which lacks any real foundation, and therefore also can lead to no fulfillment and to no success. And that this is really so is demonstrated by the irrational teaching itself, namely in such a wise that a really psychically ill human being can never become healed by it, and that such human beings are written off by this spiritual science as incurable, etc. And be it clearly and precisely stated here that the discourse is effectively about psychically ill human beings, and the discourse is not about the mentally ill, who are ill in their consciousness, between whom there exists a gigantic difference. And this great difference undeniably persists even when this spiritual science tries to claim by all means that this is not so. A psychically ill human being suffers only under his or her negative ausgearteten mode of thinking, whereas a mentally ill person is effectively confused in the consciousness. But how should this spiritual science be able to understand and realize this difference when it is not even able to recognize the logic of the most minimal wisdom?